Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. We reached verse number 8 last time of Surat Al Hajj. And the verse says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن الناس من يجادل في الله بغير علم ولا هدى ولا كتاب منير ثاني عطفه ليضل عن سبيل الله له في الدنيا خزي ونذيقه يوم القيامة عذاب الحريق ذلك بما قدمت يداك وأن الله ليس بظلام للعبيد. Inshallah, we shall pause here. The first verse says, of the people, among the people, there are people that will dispute about God without knowledge, without guidance, without any enlightening revelation or book. ثاني عطفه, twisting his neck, ليضل عن سبيل الله, so that he may mislead people from God's path. له في الدنيا خزي, he will have shame and embarrassment in this world, and on the day of judgment he will be submitted to or subjected to the blazing hell. ذلك بما قدمت يداك, this is what your own hands has put ahead of you for yourself. وأن الله ليس بظلام للعبيد, but Allah does not wrong people. Allah is never unjust to people, but people are unjust to themselves. This is one of the places in the Quran. You know, the Quran speaks of what you can identify as character types. Whenever you have this construct, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, and among the people, whenever you have this construct, it always speaks of a specific type of people. The Quran does this in no less than 9 times, 9 places in the Quran. So the Quran, in a way, identifies 9 types of people. The first type of people in the Quran is this type that is introduced literally in the first page of Surat Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Quran, the longest chapter of the Quran, which says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. Among the people, or of the people, there are people that would say we believe in Allah and we believe in the last day, but they are not really believers. This is what they don't truly believe in it. That's what we identify as hypocrisy or nifaq. You can identify this type of people as the fake believer. So the first type of character in the Quran is literally the munafiq, the hypocrite. Right, mentioned in the first page of Surah Al-Baqarah. The people that will say something outwardly, but internally they don't really have it. They don't really believe in it. So you can call it the fake believer, if you like. The second type of people in the Quran, you could call it the false lover. This is mentioned in the second juz of the Quran, which says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. And among the people, there are people that will take partners beside God, but not in the usual sense of it, but in the sense of love. They love someone or something more than the love for Allah. يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. They love them in the way they love Allah, or even more. There is a type of shirk in Islamic theology that is known as the shirk of love. When you love something or someone more than you love Allah, that's a type of shirk in the Quran. So you could identify this second character type as the false lover. By saying that, it doesn't mean we shouldn't love anything apart from Allah, but it's the idea that Allah is to be loved the most, and also that whatever you love apart from Allah has to be for the sake of Allah. That's how you get everything aligned. If it's not aligned, it becomes the false lover. That's the second character type. The third type of characters in the Quran, you can actually call it the corrupt, or perhaps the hidden destroyer. The verse again in Surah Al-Baqarah says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُعْجِبُكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. And among the people, there are people that when they speak, they really impress you. وَيُشْهِدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا فِي قَلْبِ. And they would always invoke Allah, as in they would talk about Allah a lot. وَهُوَ أَلَدُّ الْخِصَامِ. But in reality, if you ever have a disagreement with these people, you will see the true face. وَإِذَا تَوَلَّى سَعَى فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا. When they turn away to spread corruption on earth. وَيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثَ وَالنَّسْلَ وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَسَادِ. You could call this the corrupt or the hidden destroyer. The hidden destroyer because it's all happening in the inside, and then it manifests on the outside. That's just the third character type in the Quran. Then you have, in the very same page in this surah, you could, using the Quranic terminology, you could call it the true seller. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. Among the people, there are people that would sell themselves for the sake of Allah. As in, they would sacrifice things for His sake. They would put Him first. They are not ego-centered. They are divine or God-centered. So it's as if they have placed their own ego with Allah. Then you have the fifth character type. We've looked at it a couple of Quran circles ago, because you have here 4 character types mentioned in Surat Al-Baqarah. These. Surat Al Hajj, the one we're covering, has 3 types of these. It's all 9 types. Al-Baqarah has 4. Surat Al-Baqarah has 4. Surat Al Hajj has 3. We've seen one a couple of lectures ago. What was it? وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَيَتَّبِعُ كُلَّ شَيْطَانٍ مَرِيدٍ. You could call it the blind follower. It's the people that dispute about God, no knowledge, no guidance. They are just blindly following someone else. So the other type of people in the Quran, character type, is the blind follower. The one I've just recited today is this one. You could call it the arrogant debater. It's almost very close to the one we covered a couple of lectures ago, because it uses almost the very same words, but the difference is they both debate. This one debates and this one debates, but the difference is this one is a leader, a misleader if you like, and this one is a follower. You could actually identify this as a misleader. Why? Because they debate, they don't have knowledge, much like this one. They have no evidence whatsoever. But the key thing here is that they are in leading positions. That's a sixth type. The seventh type we'll cover next week, inshallah. It's to do with the people, what we can identify as, you could call them the fair weather worshippers. How the Quran identifies them? The Quran calls them وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ. It's the people that worship Allah on the edges. فَإِنْ أَصْحَابَهُ خَيْرٌ اطْمَأَنَّ بِهِ. When something good happens to them, they are happy, they are fine. وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ فِتْنَةٌ انقلب على وجهه. If something goes wrong, they just leave faith completely. So they are using the Quranic term on the edges. These ones are mentioned in Surat Al Hajj. Then you have the eighth type, character type in the Quran. You could call it the conditional believer. Mentioned in Surat Al Ankabut, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ. There are people that will say we believe in Allah. فَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ. The moment they have to pay something for the faith, as in the moment it becomes a little bit expensive to have faith, فَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ جَعَلَ فِتْنَةَ النَّاسِ كَعَذَابِ اللَّهِ. The moment they are pressurized by the people, pressurized by anything, they think this is a divine punishment and they start to leave the whole thing. So as if they had a condition that we are believers on the condition that things go well. If not, we're not believers anymore. So you could call them conditional believers. The last character type in the Quran is mentioned in Surah Luqman. You could call it the destructor, if you like. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Among the people, there are people that would distract other people from Allah's path. By whatever, like by entertainment, by movies, by whatever. Anything that is being done that will really stifle people's path to Allah. These are 9 places in the Quran where the Quran talks about character types. Surah Al-Baqarah mentioned 4 types of people. We said the fake believer, the false lover, the corrupter or the hidden destroyer, and the true seller. Surah Al-Hajj mentioned 3 types of characters. The blind follower, we've looked at that a couple of weeks ago. The arrogant debater or the misleader, we will look at it shortly. Then we have the fair weather worshipper or the on edges worshipper. Then we have Surah Al-Ankabut mentioning the conditional believer, someone who, as if they have a condition with Allah, I am a believer as long as there are no, misfortunes. The last one is the distractor, the one who distracts people from their path with Allah. These are 9 types of characters. And when the Quran does this, when the Quran uses this expression, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, it's literally asking us to think of patterns, because these are patterns that come with people. It's asking us not to, often when we come across verses like these, we often think of them as labels. As in immediately you would think of, I have someone in mind who's like this. That reminds me of her. This is how our society looks like today. That's not how we are meant to really receive this. We are meant to use these as mirrors, and instead of viewing this as labels. Mirrors in the sense that these character types mirror us, as in the question that needs to be asked, that I should be asking myself, where am I in this list? Am I part of the fake? Am I a fake believer? Does my internal really align with my external or not? Am I a false lover? Where is my love misplaced? Is it misplaced in someone, something other than Allah? And when I love someone, when I love something, do I love them for the sake of Allah, or do I love them despite the sake of Allah? Am I a hidden destroyer? I impress people when I talk, I impress people with what I do, but internally I am not that good. Am I a true seller in the sense that I sold my ego for the sake of Allah and I place Allah over everything? Or am I a God seller, selling Allah instead? Am I a blind follower that follows whatever is there? Or am I an arrogant debater? If I'm in a leading position, when I debate, do I debate with knowledge or without knowledge? Am I a fair weather worshipper that worships Allah on the edges when there is a fortune, not when there is misfortune? Am I a conditional believer that worships Allah with conditions? Or am I a destructor? So these are really mirrors in the first place, not labels. We often think of these as labels, really, but we want to really take a more of a reflective approach on ourselves. Today's verses is literally this is the one we're looking at, number 6, arrogant debaters. If you want to check the last Quran, no, not the last one, the one before it, it was on debate, the idea of argumentation, the place of argumentation in the Quran, positive argumentation and negative argumentations, or negative disputes or positive disputes. The one we're looking at today, like I said, the key difference is that the previous one we looked at, they are both argumentative, but the first one is a follower. Today's debater is a leader. And how the Quran describes this person, it says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. Among the people that are people that would argue about God بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ, they have no knowledge, وَلَا هُدًى, guidance, وَلَا كِتَابٍ مُنِيرٍ, book or scripture. So it's the people that are in leading positions, in positions of influence, but they debate and they argue with no knowledge, as if the Quran is telling us that these are the sources of authority that can really allow you to get into a debate. Or we mentioned in the please check the previous Quran circle to do with argumentation, because it is quite linked. The Quran mentions the word jadal, yujadil, jadal. We said the word jadal comes from, if you have a rope, have this rope, for example, if you keep twisting it, we twist ropes so that they may become stronger. The idea of jadal comes from this. If I say, the verb for this, if I am to do this rope, to keep doing it, this is in Arabic called jadal, jadaltul habla. Like I twisted the rope so that it becomes stronger. Jadal comes from this. We keep, coming up with proofs and evidences so that I may make my argument stronger. That's the derivation of this verb. So when you come to this, I mentioned in the last Quran circle that the Quran talks about this jadal, this phenomena of jadal, in 29 places in the Quran. The Quran often speaks negatively of this phenomena of debate and argumentation, but sometimes it speaks positively when it fulfills specific conditions. And the Quran here says the people that debate, the people that argue about Allah, in both cases they have no knowledge. That's the first condition, the first thing they lack. They have no guidance. Guidance is often a reference to a teacher, as in they have not studied anything through authentic authorities. And they don't have a book that they can rely on. So as in they have no source of knowledge whatsoever. When it comes to knowledge, how do I know something instead of how do I copy? Either you have knowledge or ignorance. What makes something based on knowledge? You have two primary types of knowledge. Either you have immediate knowledge, which is something that I experienced myself, like I've reached this conclusion. I know this. I've been, looking into this. I've investigated this until it's become part of who I am. Like I've experienced the truth of this thing. You may identify this as experiential. I feel it. I know it, right? And it's based on research, based on, they call it sometimes acquired knowledge. So it's immediate, because I feel it myself. And then you have mediated knowledge. So either you have immediate knowledge or immediated knowledge. This, when the Quran says بغير علم, it means they have no immediate knowledge, as in they don't know it themselves. Mediated knowledge can be a teacher, like you studied with someone who knows. So the teacher is the mediator in this case. Or a scripture or a book that you inherited, perhaps the Quran. We've inherited the Quran, right? So it becomes a source of authority for us. So these people, they have no immediate knowledge, but they equally have no mediated knowledge through trusted authorities like teachers that they studied with, authentic teachers, or scripture. So they are lacking in the most important aspect, like aspects of the acquisition of knowledge. So they are lacking in all these areas. And then the Quran describes what happens after they get into debates. ثاني عطفه, they don't submit to the truth. And the Quran uses this expression ثاني عطفه, as in they twist their neck out of rejection. So they reject the truth even if it becomes so apparent, they don't accept it because the ego is at the center of the debate. ليضل عن سبيل الله, their intention is not to arrive at the truth, but rather to mislead, to lead people away from Allah. The verse continues to say, له في الدنيا خزي, they will be ashamed in this world and they will be punished in the hereafter. What we witness today, you might, when you read books of tafsir and Quran commentaries, you will find the books often talking about specific names, like names of people that have given a hard time to the Prophet ﷺ by way of debating with him, etc., etc. But if we look at today's world, you will find this phenomena of al-jadal is very vivid and very lived in our lives today. So, in this case, we have the Quran talking about a specific type of people that was living in the lifetime of Prophet Mohammed ﷺ. So I need to go back and understand what the Quran is referring to. And I want to introduce you here to one of the key scholars of 20th century Islam. His name is Fazlur Rahman from Pakistan. He died in 1988 as a professor of Islamic thought at the University of Chicago, USA. Fazlur Rahman is a very formidable scholar. One of the key ideas he talks about is an idea called the double movement. Which is very useful for us as to how we deal with the Quran. With the double movement, he says, we have a book that talks to us in the 21st century and the 20th century. And the Quran says, I am addressing all people, all ages. He says, as a Muslim who lives in the 21st century, how do I approach the Quran? How do I make use of it? How do I make it relevant? Right? He says you have to do two moves. The first move is a move into history to understand the context of this verse. Was it talking about a specific person or a specific group of people? To try and understand the context, as simple as that. Right? The context where the verse was revealed. And then that's the first move, the first movement. The second movement or the second move, it's back from history to 21st century or 20th century, where you are meant to really address the question of relevance. How is that relevant to me? This verse was revealed in a specific situation, a specific time, a specific place, addressing specific people. But I am someone who lives in 21st century Britain. What does that mean to me? How do I apply this? That's a second move. So the first one is to do with context. Why does the context matter? The context matters because it qualifies things. It may get you to really understand what he calls al-illah. What is al-illah? It's the effective cause. As in, a simple example that I always use. Why does Allah prohibit alcohol? You could mention so many reasons. You could say, for example, can you think of reasons, guys? The main reason we know is the intoxication. But you could also mention other reasons. It could be that it wastes your money, right?
Damages organs.
Huh? It damages organs. So you can think of 5, 6, 7 causes or reasons for this to be prohibited. Debate or argumentation, it was practiced by specific people, specific places, etc., etc. But today on social media, everyone's a debater. Literally. So one has to really be careful, because this condition that we have today, how does it impact my understanding of jadal? Because these verses are talking about me. I am living this condition. I should not see this as something of the past. Yes, it was relevant in the past, but it's equally relevant in today's world. And social media has really given a platform that is accessible to everyone today. And the thing is, it literally, like I said, debate back then in the past was very limited, as in specific people would do it. But today, social media has given a platform to everyone. Can you think of examples or reasons why social media has made it worse? Has normalized jadal, if you like? What makes it? How does it impact the idea of jadal? How does it impact the idea of argumentation and the idea of debate? I mentioned that the Quran talks about jadal and debate and argumentation in 29 places in the Quran. 25 places the Quran speaks negatively out of these 29, and only in 4 places the Quran speaks positively. How does social media impact our understanding of jadal? Does it weaken it? Does it decrease? How?
I guess the fact that it becomes even more public, the social media being very accessible, that anyone can see the debate, makes the ego even more present. In that, if before you would argue and 5 people would see you, now kind of thousands can see you losing or winning or whatever it may be.
So
bigger audience.
So it's that gave you a bigger audience. How does that impact the culture of debate or the culture of jadal?
It makes it harder to agree that you're wrong. You're kind of agreeing in front of more people.
Okay, so it's become, it made a more spacious platform for ego-centered stuff, not truth-centered debates. Why, according to the Quran, why will I debate? Why will I debate? I will debate because we want to arrive at the truth. But if I have millions, hundreds of people are watching me, my ego is at stake. I really want to win. How would I come across? So it completely changes the platform from being a truth-based debate to being an ego-centered one. Thank you so much, Sheikh, for this. Yes, Jamal.
Yeah, there's this, I think in contrast to that, you can have like an...
One second, Jamal. If I may, there's a beautiful verse in Surat where the disbelievers of Makkah asked the Prophet ﷺ for a debate. And the Quran answers by saying, instead of having a debate publicly, إنما أعظكم بواحدة أن تقوموا لله مثنى وفرادا. I urge you to just spend some time thinking on your own, either on your own or as pairs, in pairs or as individuals. But publicly as such, it isn't gonna help. Why? It's not gonna help. So many things are at stake. My honor, my tribe, my status, etc., etc. So even the Quran speaks really clearly about this. Either individually reflecting on this, or in pairs that you can really respond to one another. Juban.
So I think just to that, in the sense that you can have an anonymous identity online. You can either anonymously debate, or even if you're debating with an account that's linked to you, you have this barrier that sort of stops in-person accountability. You can say outrageous things even without, in most cases, facing any accountability. The worst thing that happens, even when people go off the rails on social media, is that they just get blocked for a couple of days, or their account gets taken down.
What will be the point here?
So I think the point here would be that you can argue to any extent, and you can argue in any manner, even in a grossly inappropriate manner, and face minimal consequences in real life.
So unmannered, it provided a space for unmannered debates, if you like, right?
Without consequences.
Accountability.
Exactly, no accountability indeed. What else?
The fast-paced nature of social media makes less space for, in contrast to maybe Ibn Abbas's debate, where he waited, he listened to all the arguments. So there isn't much information, but rather one-liner kind of debates.
Wonderful. Absolutely, fast-paced. I mean, actually, social media rewards quick reactions. I want you to respond now. And when you reward quick reactions, you literally compromise reflection. You compromise a space for contemplation. I really want to give this its due thoughtfulness. And if I'm rewarding this, it's literally fast-paced. And for a good debate to take place, I need to think. Absolutely. What other?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think also the access to information that social media gives us, where it will influence people that are gonna have the debate. So they might then start using the same points that they've heard other people make on social media in their debate. So they kind of end up basically regurgitating what they've heard other people say on social media, where if they hadn't heard someone else say it, then they wouldn't even be thinking about it. But because all of these debates are happening and
Well done.
people are
Well
using
done.
these same arguments, they're kind of going around in circles and everyone's circulating the same points, making the same arguments.
Well done, yeah, Alex. It just deepens the culture of imitation and the culture of taqleed. I mean, not just taqleed actually, but actually also plagiarism. I'm stealing someone's ideas. I'm just imitating. I'm copying someone without attributing anything to them. Right? Muslims were a lot more accountable in the past. Asyuti, who died in 911 Muslim calendar, has written a really good book on this. It's called Al-Fariq Bayna Al-Musannif was-Sariq. The distinguisher between someone who cites other people and someone who steals other people's work. Because in his own time there was this context of people, citing others without really attributing things to them. So it does deepen this culture, the culture not just of imitation but actually plagiarism. Absolutely. And you know what? I find also lacking shared points of reference. When the verses we just recited, the Quran says the people that argue about God with no knowledge, no teachers, no books, no scriptures. as if the Quran is telling us these are the shared references. As in a debate, I would ask you, what is your source? On social media, anyone can say anything. Like even people with different cultures, different backgrounds, different worldviews, and they are debating the very same thing. That means they have different points of reference, and they don't even realize it. Does this make sense? So, lacking shared platforms, but they shared backgrounds or shared points of reference, and yet they think we are debating the same thing. We have to arrive at the truth of it.
Maybe the verse is actually fabricating evidence also.
Definitely.
With that vision.
Absolutely. It gives you a space to say what. I mean, nobody asks you actually for an evidence. You can say whatever. Yeah. And Muslims have known the concept of moral courage as well. We all know that you could say things behind the screen, you would never say them face to face, right? In a debate, you would say it like you would be taken into account for whatever you say. With social media, nobody knows who is behind the screen, right? By using someone else's account, etc., etc. Fake accounts, it's a big thing today. So it even deepened the culture of gender in negative ways. Think of other. Yes, sir.
The lack of requirements for you to become someone who can debate, as in you can just be anyone who opens a screen and has a.
Absolutely.
Well, before you wouldn't, at least if you see people arguing in the streets, you would ask who's arguing for you to listen.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. No qualifications. No qualifications. Yep. Yep.
I think
Yes,
also
Alex.
to add to that is people taking like the amount of followers that someone has as a qualification.
Oh God.
Like, that's a qualification.
Tell me about popularity. Popularity. That has led actually, because in Islam there is this concept of majority. People say, what does the majority think? Which majority? Today, if you confuse majority with popularity, you're stuck. Popularity is just based on many useless things. So one has to really be careful with this. And whenever we see majority in Islamic classical works, it's majority of scholars, not even majority of the masses. What else does social media does to us?
I was going to say,
Yes.
the depth of the arguments themselves, when you're confined to character limits, your argument isn't necessarily what you were going to say in the first place, but because you're limited by space or characters or tensions,
Absolutely, that's a very good point.
you alter what you would have originally said.
Very true. Even more so today, people don't even have the patience to listen to a 2-hour lecture or 1-hour lecture. The reels, they want 1 or 2 minutes, and that's it. And everyone, even scholars today, they want to adapt to this. I want people to listen to me. So what do? I put just the essence, the most amazing thing that I said in my lecture, and that's it. It's as if this has become like people's dopamine. Like I'm looking for this bit, and that's it, not the whole thing. So how does it impact even our knowledge seeking? I don't have the patience actually to sit and listen and read and reading. How does it impact reading? But that's another disaster. Yes.
Before we move past, when it comes to qualification, popularity, and majority, I feel like all three of them have been blended together into this weird mush online. How would we even begin to distinguish between the three? Because you have people who claim all three, while all three of them are in the wrong direction.
So blend in popularity, majority, and
Qualification.
interesting. So blending all of this indeed. So you see how dangerous this is, and how relevant it is as well to the idea of jadal. and how many of us really contribute to this. It's become part of our daily lives. The Prophet, yes, yeah, Alex.
So, Sheikh, I was going to say, do you think there's any positives in terms of how social media has impacted the debate culture that we're talking about? Or is it just negative?
Of course, there are positives. It's just like how it is commonly used. How do I qualify it? Definitely, that's perhaps a discussion for another day. How do I make the best use of it? It's definitely, to me, I see it as a blessing. Absolutely. I'm not necessarily against it. But today, just went in relation to the idea of jadal. I think it's a very negative thing. But positivities, they definitely are positivities. The idea of accessibility is a big one. But perhaps a discussion for another day, just to give it its due treatment. The Prophet ﷺ, actually it's an athar attributed to Abdullah ibn Abbas as well, where he says, إِنَّكُمْ فِي زَمَانٍ قَلِيلٍ خُطَبَاؤُهُ كَثِيرٌ عُلَمَاؤُهُ. He says, Abdullah ibn Abbas is addressing his people, says, we live in an age where we have a lot of scholars, but we have very few public influencers, if you like the people that don't have knowledge but are preachers, if you like. كثير فقهاؤه قليل خطباؤه كثير معطوه قليل كثير معطوه, as in the people that give, would donate and are generous, are so many. قليل سائلوه, and the people that ask for money are way less than the people that give money. العمل فيه أكثر من العلم. The people's interest in action and practice is deeper than the interest in knowledge, in seeking knowledge as such, as in they really want to apply whatever they know. But then he says, وسيكون زمان كثير خطباؤه قليل علماؤه. But there will be a time when people's will have plenty of preachers, plenty of influencers, if you like, but very few scholars. كثير سائلوه قليل معطوه. A lot of people that ask for things, but very few people that really are willing to give. العلم فيه يسبق العمل. That people are so obsessed with knowledge, but they are not interested in practice, in putting it into practice. Definitely social media endorses this culture in various ways. Unless if you have any questions or comments on these points, I just wanted to highlight how we can really try and relate a specific Quranic verse that was revealed in a specific context to us as Muslims today who live in the 21st century. And I find the idea of social media as a condition, not just as a tool, because it's become a condition, especially with AI. You can't escape it, really. How do we really survive? How do we maintain our values? How do we maintain our principles in the midst of all this? I hope this has shed some light on this, and inshallah we continue next week with the other character type, the one who is on the edges, the fair weather character, worshipper. And that's it. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. صلى الله عليه وسلم.